So welcome back to the Courageous Girls podcast. I'm your host, Tara Matson. I'm founder and executive director. I'm also a counselor, and I've written the book Courageous, Being Daughters Rooted in Grace, and really am passionate about helping moms walk with their daughters at every age and stage of their growing years. Our girls need us to lead them, and many of us just haven't had our own experiences with a mom who knew how to walk with us, or maybe she was an amazing mom, but she didn't know how to really enter God's word into the real stages and places that we are experiencing today with our own girls. And so it's a new time. So I brought together some mamas that I have relationships with in different ways. They are doing Courageous Girls and the different ways that you can access both the curriculum, our CG leader cohort trainings, our webinars, and I wanted them to just be able to share from their own hearts the ways that they have been impacted and the way they're using Courageous Girls to walk with their daughters and the other moms and daughters in their communities today. So let's get started, get to know them a little bit. I would love for each of you to share a little bit about you, where you live, your stage of life, your kids, if you're working outside the home or you're home full time, and then maybe a little bit of your connection with Courageous Girls and where you are at in our community. So Lorna, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you begin with sharing who you are?
Okay, my name is Lorna Borger. I live currently in Louisville, Colorado, just outside of Boulder, between Boulder and Denver. I have a almost 14-year-old 8th grade daughter and a newly 12-year-old 6th grade son. And as far as Courageous Girls go, we started the group. My first group was when I was living in Austin, Texas, and my daughter was in 2nd grade. And we started a group there that was fairly large. And then we split in half during COVID. And so we continued with a small, just 4 girls group in our area of Austin until we moved to Colorado 2.5 years ago. And then we started a group here. And we've also tried to keep up to some degree with the group in Austin. They flew out here one year for their retreat and did it with us. And we've tried to catch up with them. We go back pretty regularly. So we try and at least stay in touch. It hasn't worked out to do meetings with them there, but just to continue to foster those relationships. And our group here is now on their wrapping up our 3rd year together. And it's been great.
Thank you, Lorna. How about you, Rebecca Grace?
My name is Rebecca, and I am in Erie, Pennsylvania. I have 3 kiddos. I have a 15-year-old son, and a 10-year-old daughter, and then a 7-year-old son. And I am a homeschooling mom. My husband is self-employed, so I do help him in those areas, and I do a little blogging on the side. And as far as Courageous Girls go, I had read the book probably about maybe 4 or 5 years ago when it first came out. My daughter was too young, so I was so excited about it. So I had been on the email list for Tara, and she had put out a request for just a volunteer for something. And I answered, and I quickly got involved with app development, which led me into being a part of the Courageous Girls cohort leader group. And I have tried to start my own group here, but with a lack of moms interested right now, I did start the Confident Girls course with my daughter this year so we could get things rolling.
Love it. It's great. It gives good examples of different ways you can start when we hit some barriers. So, Jessie.
Yeah. Well, my name is Jessie Pick. I live in Ridgefield, Washington, which is just north of the Portland, Oregon area across the border. I was introduced to Courageous Girls from a mentor mom who has boys and was like, I don't really know how to mentor you with in regards to your daughters. And so she was mutually connected with Tara and encouraged me to read the book. So I have 2 daughters. I have a 5th grade daughter and a 2nd grade daughter. So after reading the book, I was just all in head first, deep dive, and connected with some people at my church to see if we could find a way to encourage other moms with daughters in our church community to be involved in small groups. So ended up doing a book read together with moms of lots of different ages. We had 18 moms come together over the course of 6 months to read the book together, and then ended up building 4 different age group Courageous Girls that started this year. So it's been very fruitful, and I've loved being encouraged to do a group separately with both of my daughters individually.
I love hearing that, because that's probably one of the biggest barriers when, especially a mom who has like 4 daughters. She's like, "What? You want me to do 4 different groups?" I'm like,
Mhm.
So I love that. So Jesse, let's just start with you. You know, when we think about what moms are wrestling with today, you know, just we're all in different places in the country, and we all have our own spaces in our church communities and different backdrops. But in general, what do you see in women struggling with, especially moms of daughters? Because it sounds like you had a real heart for your community, and you started Courageous Girls even broader than just your own little community. So I'm going to start with you, Jesse. What do you see in your community?
Yeah, I see a lot of moms feeling like they're islands and really needing a pack of their own to be able to be supported. I think it's easy to feel connected and disconnected at the same time, and not really having a safe space where you can be honest and vulnerable. And I find that in Courageous Girls the most, and want to be able to encourage that for my girls, to be able to have a safe space to ask hard questions and hear hard answers, and be able to be in a safe space to do that. So I love being able to foster that in a space where our world continues to speak ways into finding truth that isn't necessarily where I want my daughters to seek it out. So I love to be able to have that space. I forgot to say, I also work as an emergency room nurse. So I do work outside the home, and see a lot of very challenging things on a daily basis where people are harmed by so-called truths that are not real. And I want to be able to foster space that protects our girls in God's love and the word that he speaks into their lives. And I saw that very strongly rooted in the Courageous Girls curriculum.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Lorna, how about you? What do you see? We're all nodding our heads going, yes, Jesse, yes, we see that too. But Lorna, anything you would want to add?
Yeah, I think my answers changed a little bit with the age of my daughter. So I think when my girl, when she was little and we first started, so much of the gift of it was the moms connecting to start and not feeling like an island. And now I feel like as we see our sphere of influence on our girls diminish while they get older, it's really helpful to have just to feel like my daughter is connected to other girls who are hearing the same messages, and then being able to kind of behind the scenes with the moms, you know, remember we did that lesson, or, you know, somebody will text out, my daughter's going shopping with friends and I don't feel good about the friends. What do you do if you're not, you know, there's things like that where it feels like it's more now at this stage than when they were little, and it was moms at home not feeling like an island with their, you know, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Now that we've got middle school going into high schoolers, it's more moms brainstorming how to shepherd these girls towards each other and towards the things that we've talked about, as we have to take a step back with the decisions that they are making for themselves.
That's so good. And Lorna, I want to say to that point 2 things. I remember one mom really challenging me when we were doing Courageous Girls. She's like, I don't want my girl to grow up in a clique. And I said, oh, yes, me too. Amen. Amen to that, sister. But Courageous Girls groups aren't cliques. In fact, the more we grow in our confidence, the more we can branch out. We're not meant to be all besties, but there is something profound about having a community that feels somewhat like-minded, where the moms, we can wrestle together and lead our girls together, because they're going to go all over the place throughout these years, and they have their own stories and their own schools and their own communities. But that is such a rich thing that I think a lot of moms, to Jesse's point and your point, and daughters don't have, is a consistency in their communities. It's a lot of shifting and changing that happens from churches to teams to classes. Or our besties don't necessarily, our daughters don't connect. And so it's less about friendship and learning how to do community with people that are different than us and but have a heart in the same direction, which is the church, capital C, right? So I love that you guys are using each other to kind of say, my daughter's going to the mall with friends I'm scared about. What do I do?
To be able to say, we are not the only home that says this message to our kid. It's like they know for sure that there are other homes that are messaging the same things because they sit together once a month and hear the same messages with other girls their age.
Yeah. The positive peer pressure we're working on from all different angles, right? So, yeah, I love that. Rebecca, I know we're kind of over talking, but is there another point you want to bring into the equation here? What you see moms needing?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably match similar sentiments in both spaces. I'm not to the place where my daughter is really taking off on her own, but I do feel like a lot of times, and I failed to mention, I do volunteer for a national moms group that is a Christian moms preschool group. And I do find a lot of moms complaining, like, I don't know where to find friends and I don't know how to find mom friends. And I feel like we have this desire but we don't want our daughters to experience that. And so the answer to that is hard to find if you're not looking for that type of village or connecting with those women around you. Even in our own experience, we've been trying to start this Courageous Girls group for a year now, and we have moms who commit and then fall away and commit and then fall away. But yeah, the struggle to just really connect in the community around you. At the same time, you're hearing people voice, but where's the village? Where's the village? So it's just kind of getting over those obstacles.
Yeah. Which is actually the biggest hurdle, is saying yes to the beginning, because we all have our women wound issues. That would be something I would add to the equation from my counseling office. Maybe we don't say it to each other, but I've worked with women who have a huge pack. They have a village, but still feel really alone. Or they feel like if we're going to talk about something like what we wear, the differences of opinions can really break down relationships fast. So people don't want to talk overtly about our thoughts on sexuality and gender. And so part of the practice, the slow practice month to month, is growing all of us as moms and daughters with how to be okay with being different and valuing each other's voices. And yet overall knowing we all have a heart to want to follow God and be connected to him. But that's part of what I am hoping, is that we all grow as courageous girls, is to be going, God has a variety of females and we don't have to compete against each other. But getting started is the hardest part, which we're going to get back to later, Rebecca, because what you're experiencing is a common dynamic. And Jessie and Lorna might have some wisdom on that to offer. So let's talk about some of the ways you think Courageous Girls groups, particularly when we think about this free curriculum, that it's from first, second grade, all the way through the end of high school. Some groups end, around 11th grade. Some groups continue into their senior year. We didn't continue into senior year. It's just a crazy year. But I would say once a month for 8 months, and then there's a retreat and you get some time off. What do you think the curriculum itself, what are the rhythms of Courageous Girls? We've already named a few, but what is this offering in a way that maybe some of the other kinds of opportunities we could give our daughters? What's different and unique about this? I'm going to start with you, Lorna, since we'll go backwards.
Okay. My initial response was, it feels like it's been kind of a roadmap. And it's been helpful in some ways, but not helpful, to have a son and a daughter, because I feel like I don't have a roadmap with my son. I regularly come to Tara and gone, what do we do with him? But especially now that we've been doing it for this is my sixth year, I'm wrapping up, of doing a Courageous Girls group. I think being able to look back, there's kind of a cyclical feel to the curriculum, meaning that you're touching on, for example, technology or social media. there's little touches, early on. Sometimes it almost feels too early. And then you look back and go, oh, I'm so glad we talked about that then before it became an issue. And it expands as the years go on. And then there are other standalone lessons. For example, the manners one, which etiquette manners. I mean, all of the moms feel like we should just go back and do that one every single year.
I know, seriously.
Such a good lesson. So I think it feels like this roadmap for practically raising your daughter, everything from how to use deodorant and fallopian tubes to manners to dating so it gives us little snippets. And every lesson is not perfect, right? There are lessons that you walk away going, what? I don't know if we really got the point of that. And then there are others where you want to repeat it once a month because it just felt so powerful. But the business book that I read called The Slight Edge that talks about the little steps that make a difference. Yeah. I think about that with our daughters, that the little step, that one meeting, that conversation in the car on the way there and on the way home, built up over 12 years, paints a picture of a completely different relationship with your daughter and the conversations you have and the conversations in the home, because it bleeds into the home, right? We use the red, yellow, green friend analogy just in general in our house. The whole family does. And so if we hadn't done it, would my relationship with my daughter still be good? Probably. I think so. But is it deeper because we've done this? I absolutely think so.
Oh, Lorna, my heart is exploding because you're like naming these pieces of the end in mind, keeping the end in mind. And it's so hard when you're in the trenches of mothering and you're doing, like you said, some of the lessons you're like, I don't really get what that was about. But it's these bigger principles really broken into small little baby steps, repetition. It's really the way we learn is through experiences that happen over and over. The neural pathways get set and it becomes a part of our DNA. And so talking with your mom on a monthly basis about real topics really shifts her paradigm about when she's 14, 15, 16, 21. I can talk to my mom. My mom, she's open, she's willing. She's watched you be in community with other women but you've been her safe person. And so that idea of like, is this working? Is it working? It's the slow and steady drip. And that's why I want groups to go the long haul. I don't ask you to commit for 12 years at the beginning, but I think over time it ends up being a gift to everybody. And so you want to keep going. The second thing was you're using principles with your whole family. And I think the boy question is the number one I get, Lorna. Where's the boy curriculum? Where can we do the boy? And I go, well, let me just say, and I think I'm going to do a whole podcast on this, Lorna. Maybe you and I can chat, but on that one. But I don't think it's healthy for moms to do this kind of dynamic with boys in the same way, because fast forward, I worked with sex addiction and sexual betrayal, and mom-son stuff can really get complicated fast. So it doesn't work and translate the same way. But a lot of moms have taken the curriculum and are just using the principles. Obviously, the body stuff's different, but they'll use it in their homes just at the dinner table, like the red light, green light, yellow light principle. And you can do a lot of shepherding your son and building the same listening skills and rapport. So my dream was that as you get better at this with your daughter, it'll just transfer over to your son easily. You'll be a safer mom. But hopefully dad gets to be a part of this journey as well. And so
that's I was going to say that we've kind of toyed with let's just say I have harped maybe too much on it. Hey, I think this curriculum could really be translated pretty easily, but I don't think I should be the one to do it. And so that's a conversation that we've had a lot. Not that my husband isn't on board. It's been a lot with our move and whatnot. And so it just hasn't happened. But I do think, given the right circumstance, with dads that were willing and desiring to step in and do it with their sons and modify, that would be very doable. I would agree that it doesn't feel like the right move for the moms to do it. It needs to be the dads leading that charge, in my opinion. And so that's why we haven't. But I do think it's very doable.
You're naming the tension here, and dads are different and men are different. And so that's part of this tension. There are great resources that we are going to be creating even more so for you. That big question, what about the boys? And just saying, here's what's already out there. It's not the same. but then the adapting. And Lorna, you and many others have just been creative as the Holy Spirit has led you, and dads are willing. But the danger of us mamas nagging our husbands to go after their sons can create a dynamic between us that we don't want to model to our kiddos, right? But use your voice. So you can put the idea out there to your husband and then see what happens. But he gets to decide, right? So, okay, Jesse, what about you? What do you see as a unique aspect of the Courageous Girls curriculum and the group format that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think since I started both my girls groups at different ages, I was able to kind of enter into the curriculum at different points. And what I've enjoyed the most so far is teaching my girls about rhythm. And so the idea that the curriculum just builds a rhythm in each time that we're together. The first couple meetings, the girls were like, play date, awesome, run around, eat snacks. And we're like, okay, let's come back together and we're going to learn what these things mean. We're going to popcorn prayer together, and we're going to have time and space to like be just with your mom and feel what that. And so even in only 6 meetings together with both these groups, the girls have like kind of settled into that rhythm, and they don't push against it because I think they've already seen the fruits of it. And then they get a little bit more free time at the end, and then they just get to go crazy, and then moms kind of get to do their thing, which is lovely to like kind of feel that space of flexibility. Like we worked through the curriculum, we had these discussions, we did these things, and the girls are like, yeah, this is awesome. And even simple things already that there were some girls that had some very different personalities in my older daughter's group. And my daughter had come on like, Mom, I'm not really sure I'm going to connect with that girl very much. And I was like, well, you know, these are the people that God had put in this group together, and we're going to see the fruits that come from it, but we're going to dig into it instead of shying away from it. And so we have had some good conversations about that. And I've already seen improvement in those dynamics between the various girls in the groups. So I'm just really excited to continue to see those fruits and encourage moms that have felt kind of timid in the space. We have some very, very different personalities amongst the moms, and have seen a different level of cohesion already through it. But I'm excited to just kind of see where those rhythms fall into, and pressing into like, you're going to have friendships with all sorts of girls over the course of your life, and you're going to have to figure out how to navigate through them, because some of them will be friendships by choice and others will not be. So how do we learn to connect together and work through that uncomfortability? I think that's another thing that moms and daughters struggle with in today's world, is knowing how to be uncomfortable and push through and lean into it instead of shying away and be like, oh, that's not for me, I'm going to walk away from that. So I am impressed with how those challenging conversations already, even at a young space, can encourage the girls to be like, you know what, it's okay to not know how to answer that question, and you can pass and you can move forward, and then you can listen to what this other girl said, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. And the boldness of even the second graders that are like, oh, I want to talk about that, and I'm excited about that, and I have an idea, and they just are full of vibrant understanding so early on. And I'm just so impressed with all of the girls and what they've done so far. So can't wait to get to like middle school years. And so as a nurse, like I have also been impressed with just the conversation topics that have come up in the curriculum very early on. And the moms also stepping into a space of uncomfortability, because there are many in our groups that are like, you're asking me to lead, but do I have to? And I was like, yes. The answer is yes. You do have to lead, but if you have questions or if you want to tag team with someone, great, let's do it together. But it really is, the curriculum is laid out so clear in space. Like, you don't have to know how to be a perfect educator to lead in the curriculum, and you can read through it, and there's no shame in just reading off the paper. And so there's been a lot of safe space in that for the moms. And as we kind of like plucked out, like, who's going to do what curriculum, I was like, I'll happily do the fallopian tube. Ain't no shame in talking about a fallopian tube, and I'm happy to explain. So there was like 3 or 4 moms who were like, whew, okay, thanks. Didn't want that one to fall on my plate. So
yeah, I'm banking on a nurse in every single group. It does help to have the people who are used to talking about the body in the year 2 when we talk about how amazing it is to be female. And then it gets really spicy in the middle school curriculum, as Lorna knows, and later in the high school. So I love that your daughter's already being honest with you, Mom. I'm struggling with that girl in the group. Like that kind of thing is what we want. We're wanting our daughters to be honest and open. And that's what we're through experience and practice and continual consistency over time. They start to go, this is the way we do life. And this is a good thing. And they get the feeling of you being like, okay. And then the second one that I'm just like, just so giddy is you're leaning in, and the cultural norm to cancel or to move on from what is uncomfortable versus a biblical worldview is to say, I'm curious about how God's going to use this to grow us. And yes, boundaries, sometimes eventually we do have to have closure and endings, but we got to give it time. We got to first see if there's anything here. And most of the time, there is a lot of beautiful fruit that comes from that tension from both you as mom and daughter, and then learning how to do community with other women. So fun, so fun. So Rebecca, I would love for you to share, because again, this is normal. A lot of mamas wanting to start a group, or they can't find women, or women are not committed yet. And the one-to-one courses, helping moms raise confident daughter courses, parallels with the Courageous Girls curriculum. It's not the same. It's meant for one-to-one dates. And you actually get a video where I'm coaching you, where Courageous Girls groups don't get that. Talk a little bit about what that's been like for you, and what do you feel like is a unique aspect of that coursework for you and your daughter?
Yeah, so I feel like we've only done 2 so far, because halfway through this past year is when I realized, okay, this group isn't working and I still want to do something with my daughter. And we're not big journalers, which it does transition into that. And I am grateful for it, because she has been able to share things with me that I'm not sure she would have otherwise. Just having that one on one. And as a family all together, we do a monthly family meeting where we all sit together, and it's kind of this free, safe space where if something's bugging you, one thing we can't do is tear each other down or talk poorly, but tell us what's going on so, we can get through it together as a family. And I felt like that should be a good enough space for my daughter. But when it's just her and I, there's this different connection. We've had the opportunity, she's 10 now, where she just asked about a changing body. She hasn't seen the change on herself, but she's curious. And it's not really something she'd want to bring up in front of her dad and her 2 brothers. So we've had that time to just have more intimate conversation, leading to um, deeper topics that maybe I just, I think she's okay, or she's not old enough. And it's really, I'm enjoying the child led space. I feel like as a mom, I kind of project like who I was as a child, as a little girl, on my daughter. And so I expect her to have the same thoughts I did and to react similarly, but we're 2 different people, right? And so I have learned that she even just recently shared, "You don't snuggle me anymore." And at first I thought, "Well, how does that work here?" And I didn't want her to feel like she was in trouble for saying it. So I just said, "Can you tell me more?" And she says, "You snuggle her little brother all of the time, but you just don't snuggle with me anymore." And I felt so convicted that for a little bit I was like, "Well, come snuggle with me, and remember, we're snuggling." Like, I really wanted her to see those moments, because even though they may have been happening here and there along the way, it wasn't formative for her. And so I really wanted her to see, I am still here for you. And truthfully, growing up, I had a bit of a disconnect with my mom about age of 10, where she kind of stopped hugging me, and that connection seemed to have ceased. And recognizing that through just doing 2 of these courses, I'm seeing that on myself, and being able to recognize and change, even just in the one-on-one space.
Love it. So good. It's so good. I honestly, at the end of the day, I'm like, moms, just having something really intentional. I am a busy mom. And yes, you have to co-lead the groups, but the one-to-one, it's on you. So there's a benefit of having a group. There's shared accountability. I mean, I've done this 12 years now, 9 years with my first daughter. I'm on my 9th year with my second daughter. They've overlapped. And at the end of the day, there are just times where I'm too tired or I want to postpone. And the group held me accountable, like, well, we all said we'd be there. And, Lauren is going to be leading tonight. Not literally, she's not in my group, but We want to show up, and then it ends up being such a gift. But it's the one-to-one date. You said you were going to show up. There's something just in that alone that speaks volumes to our daughters. And the research is profound here in pursuing our kids and making space for them just one-to-one, especially the larger your family, the more complicated that is. Those of us with just 2 kiddos, it's a little simpler, but it's still something that we multitask as moms. You know, we're doing dishes, or we're laundry, or we're carpooling while we're spending time with our kids. This is really a different kind of dynamic that we're trying to create. And there's lots of really good resources out there, but I will say this is one of the only ones that is rooted in God's word and clinically informed developmentally and trauma. It's actually really based in prevention, in trying to help with how do we help our daughters really understand what is healthy and not healthy. And when they are in unhealthy, how do they ask for help? How do they have courage to move forward in boundaries, which is a lot of times what women don't get until they're years into different unhealthy dynamics, whether that's friendship, spouses, work environment, family of origin. So one of the other unique things that I was intentional about was helping mamas grow too. So a lot of times we want to do things just for our girls, right? We're like, and all 3 have already said something about the impact it's had on you, but I want to draw that to the forefront. This is helping us grow because we are the ones leading our daughters. They're following our lead. They're looking to us. And many times they're like, I don't want to be like that, or I do want to be like that. And I'm trying to help us mamas to be okay with our differences, but also recognize that if I want you to have good friendships, then I really have to work on that too, because I'm modeling the way of what it looks like. So speak a little bit personally, as vulnerable as you're willing to be. Where has been some of the things you've been growing in yourself as a mom, as a woman, as a daughter of the King, as you've been working through the Courageous Girls curriculum? Jesse, I'm going to put you first. Then we'll let Rebecca go. And Lorna, you get to be last again. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like reading through the Courageous book, I've now read through 3 times after doing things with the CG cohort leaders and then going through it with all the moms, trying to pique interest in Courageous Girls, period. I've just been convicted in the space of understanding the ways that God's calling me to be courageous and being able to lean into those principles as a good example for my girls. I think that understanding what it means to feel loved and be rooted in grace is a lifelong process and continues to be challenging to me as a daughter of Christ. And I loved being able to be vulnerable in that space and teaching my girls that it's okay to struggle with that. So I think that being able to have those conversations with the other moms in that space too has been helpful, and moms that are in very different personal places in their relationships with God, and knowing how that reflects on them and reflects to the church itself and to our girls collectively. And we've grown already in a short period of time. So I think that those principles and being able to see them in ourselves, I know that my girls mirror that space very easily, and have been able to have really strong questioning, as we talked about, what are we going to get through these years and learning together, and how are we going to dig deep into them. We're talking about these fruits that will come, and it takes time and pruning and cultivating. And we live on acreage here in Richfield, and we get to have so many great conversations about vines and grapes, and learning about how that those hard pruning moments are really what create the fruit.
Thank you, Jessie. They are. And we want so badly everything to come so instantly.
Always.
Yeah. But I love the modeling. That is the number one thing on my heart. I think I have a lot of number one things I say I want. But it's just being honest as women, that our girls get to see what it looks like to be human as we walk with God. I think sometimes they see or expect, or we give a vision in the church, like, this is what a godly woman looks like. But a godly woman, she's just honest, and she is moving through, and the pruning and the suffering is a part of it. And so thank you for your tears, Jessie. Rebecca, what about you?
I would say on this journey with my daughter, it's really allowed me to see as a mom the kind the kind of mom I want to be to my daughter. I feel like, when she was born, I was so excited because I had a boy first that now I get to shop on like the pretty aisles because everything's sparkly and pink. And I was kind of jealous of those aisles when I had, the blues to pick from for my son. And so I feel like that was so exciting. And then to watch her toddle and grow and her first words and all these things. But then we got to this middle adolescence, preteen, and I was finding myself with a shorter fuse, with less patience for the emotions, almost projecting like, okay, she's old enough, she should know better. And it
Mhm.
really helped me step back and see I grew up in a home that was very much like kids should be seen and not heard. And if you are dealing with emotions, we'll figure it out. We don't have time for this. I was the second oldest of five. Both parents worked outside of the home. We often had babysitters. And so just in those transitions, it was maybe even taking it on myself too, just easier to step back and not deal with emotions.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah.
just a few weeks ago, my daughter said, Mom, is my changing body causing me to feel things really big right now? Because sometimes I feel like I'm just losing it. And I said, you know what? Yes, it is. She goes, what are those hormone things that are going through my brain? I said, that's exactly it, honey. You have hormones and your brain is so growing and it's going to grow into this beautiful thing. But sometimes when we get scared or overwhelmed, angry or hurt, our hormones come really fast and we're big to react, and then we realize afterwards, ugh, maybe that was a little too much. And just in her recognizing that, I was able to see myself in just Rebecca. Sometimes, like, I'm 40 now, so I also have those hormone things floating around, right? And I'm feeling things really big too. And here my 10-year-old just sitting alongside me was able to voice that for me. And so I feel like I I may have been intuitive in thinking like, "Oh yeah, she'll help me be a good mom." But I feel like being intentional allows me to grow to be the mom she needs, all the while her growing into the woman she's called to be. And so at first I kind of felt like that's a huge responsibility and I don't even know what I was thinking taking it on. But when it's like was mentioned earlier, those little steps, Lorna, that then lead out to this fruit that we'll see, like Jesse said, you realize this hard work, this digging is so worth it right now, even though it feels maybe scary or overwhelming. And I feel like Courageous Girls has really brought that to the forefront for me.
Beautifully said, Rebecca. I'm loving it. Hormo. What are those hormo
Those
things?
hormone things.
I love it. Lorna, what about you?
Again, I think my answer has changed because of the age of my daughter as she's gotten older. Something that sticks out to me is that there's big conversations that are had. The bigger the kid, the bigger the conversation, right? On topics where the moms don't necessarily all agree. And
Mm.
especially right now with the political climate we live in, but even, not even, this is a big topic. How would you address sex with your daughter? How would you address alcohol use with your daughter? How would you moms within the same Christian community are not going to answer that all the same. And so learning how to dialogue with each other and with the girls and live in the gray sometimes, come back to the major tenets of our faith, if it comes to that, are loving God and loving each other well. And so let's step back and what's the most important to live in relationship. I think those are some of the big conversations that we have as we get older and raise daughters and intentionally take on big subjects of conversation about which we may not all completely agree, but we want to listen well and hear each other and weigh all of the conversations well.
So good. Yeah. I could have you guys here for probably 3 more hours, and it's just tease out all of these pieces, but we don't have that kind of time. And I'm sure many moms are listening to this in parts because of the life that we lead. Um, So let's end with this little part. So busyness. It is the two reasons women don't start Courageous Girls. One, we are so busy. And I just want to go, who isn't? but all of us mamas think we're the busiest. Okay. Unless you're like stuck home with your, two littles or three littles. But once you start hitting ages where your kids are involved in activities and you're trying to be involved in your community and you do have, some family or friends you're staying connected to, maybe you work in the home or out of the home, there's all kinds of things pulling at us. And we, in Western culture, put our kiddos in a lot of activities. Might not be the case if you're doing Courageous Girls elsewhere. But in the United States, it's kind of a pride thing of we just want our kiddos to have everything and access to all kinds of things. So I'm too busy. The second one is I'm not a leader. So can you just find me a group and put me in? Which the answer is no. And I have a whole podcast we're talking about that one. Why? Because I'm really wanting to grow you, mama, in your own confidence and courage of how God made you. And he chose you to lead your daughter. And leaders come in all shapes and sizes. So that's the short answer. But those are the two reasons women say, I'm not ready to start a Courageous Girls group, or I won't say yes to somebody else. I'm saying if somebody asks you to do a Courageous Girls group, you just got the gold, because they're the ones going to be taking on the bigger picture. You get to just participate and maybe lead a lesson once a year. But I would ask you ladies who are all very busy, I know this for a fact, what is either unique about the Courageous Girls, maybe a myth that women think, or if it is hard in the busyness, why would they still do it? Okay, those are my big picture questions. So Lorna, I'm going to start with you, then we'll jump to Jessie, and we'll end with Rebecca.
Okay, for the myth, I actually would say, I'd argue that of all the things that I do with my kids and my family, Courageous Girls is probably the least time, because we really do stick to an hour and a half meeting once a month. And so that's just not that much time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would very much say it's the most powerful of the things that we do, that I do with my daughter. My daughter's not quite as busy as my son is in like every sport. All we do as a family is his sports. My daughter does some, not as much. But this is a fraction of the time that I put into all of the other things. But if I had kids because I want to raise kids and be in relationship with kids, if I was to put a weight on the things that help me do that and that well, it's not baseball momming. It is definitely anything that allows for deep, meaningful conversation and time with my kids. And this is the thing, in my experience, that creates the most opportunities for that. So I would say it doesn't actually take up that much time, but it does have a massive return in terms of fruit with raising and being in relationship with my children. What was the other question?
Well, in terms of the not being a leader, like, do you have anything you want to say there before
Yeah, I do. Well, okay, first of all, it's helpful to know that as the girls grow, you hand leadership off to them. So you're not doing it forever. And they're uncomfortable too. So it's actually kind of good if they watch you being uncomfortable. I come from an educational background, so teaching comes easily for me. But a lot of the moms, it doesn't. And often those are the most meaningful meetings because they're more engaged. There's more dialogue. There's a mom saying, I don't know how to say this. And somebody else will say, let me look at it too. Oh, and then we're all jumping in and it creates a really special space. So the leadership aspect, because the curriculum is so handed to you, there isn't really that much. You have people come to your house and you can read off of a sheet and you're all talking about it. You're not going and doing research and putting together resources. They are handed to you and you just open up your home and let it happen. And you only have to do that usually once a year, depending on the size of the group, maybe two. So that piece actually I think you'll find is a lot less daunting than you thought it would be, because there's not actually that much to it based on what's handed to you.
I love it. And I love that the girls get to watch all the different
Mhm.
ways that the mamas come in, right? Like that's the gift is they get to see different kinds of women.
Mm-hmm.
Your gifting in your training and your teaching and going, oh, that's what it looks like if I was
Mm-hmm.
to go to school to be a teacher or right. Um, and then a mom who's more of a verbal processor or more
Mm-hmm.
introverted or so love that. Okay, Jesse, Lorna gave us some great stuff. Is there anything you want to add or a different angle you want to come at it?
Sure. Yeah. I think having both groups, we've seen a lot of different mom types that are in very differing levels of busyness. We have one mom that's in full-time school every weekend and we meet on Sundays. And so we've committed as a group to meet when she's done, literally comes straight from class to be there and how to support a mom in her busyness while still feeling like she wants to be dedicated to this space with her daughter. So we got the opportunities to support her in that timing, even if it wasn't the most ideal for the rest of us. Well, we made it work. Um, I think watching those moms who voice to the group, I'm not comfortable doing this, and then watching them come through and doing it so well in a space that was slightly different than how the others had done it. It's just very fruitful for the girls to be witness to. Like, hey, this totally worked
Mm.
out. You did great, even if you felt like you weren't going. Like, how much did we get to see you overcome that challenge? And it was just like right laid out in front of all of us, which was so much fun. I think that the time commitment, I mean, I work nearly full time in addition to the various things. My children are not as activity involved, but the thing that Courageous Girls meets for them is that one-on-one commitment time. We do a lot of things as activities together as a family. And so my girls getting to have that individual attention has really made a huge difference with them, even in just a short period of time. The beauty of that with me having two daughters is that my husband gets to take the other daughter for a daughter
Mhm.
daddy date when the girl is on opposite time. So that's been very fruitful for our family as well. So I think
Mhm.
that making that very intentional individual time in our schedule has already spoke volumes to our girls and like knowing like, hey, this is me and mom time and I get to hold on to this as a precious time for us together. And this is just kind of an us thing. And that's beautiful. And making sure that they feel special in a way that doesn't have to do with gifts or events or is something that's just so tender and precious. And like, hey, I can't wait for Courageous Girls this week. It's going to be so much fun.
Mm. Love it. Rebecca?
Yeah, well, I'm in the beginning stages of this, right? So I'm really trying to, I'm the mom saying, like, come join me, please. We'll do it at my house. We'll work around your schedule. I will say that a myth I feel like I have heard not only from trying to start the Courageous Girls group, but even with working with the other moms groups that I have, is this idea that moms don't need it because they should just know. Like, trust your instincts, whether you've been told that by your spouse or your family, or just the shame that comes when you say, I don't know what to do. I don't have these tools. So I feel like a big myth out there is you became a mom. So you should just know what to do as a mom. And it's so opposite. Like, if I didn't have my mom and my mother in law and my grandmothers around me when I had children, I would have been just like reaching blindly at whatever works and, like throw the pasta at the wall till it sticks kind of thing and hope things work out for the best. But when there's a tool out there and a support that comes with it that you can say safely, I've never thought to deal with this. Where do I even go?
Yeah.
It comes together in that space. So I'd say, yeah, if you're hearing that myth of you just trust your instinct as a mom and you, not that we don't have good, the mommy senses, they're totally there for a reason. But if you're feeling like I need more, that's okay. And you can seek more. So if I could disband that, I'm sure maybe I'll even send the podcast to the ones who have said that to me, right? Like, we can do this together. That's what builds the village. And like I've heard from Lorna and Jesse, putting that work in and making the time commitment. And then as far as leadership goes, I always say, like, I'm not a natural leader, but other people have kind of put me in that category because I feel like if nobody's doing it, then maybe I just should. I should just pick up and go, at least get it done. And being willing to go first, being willing to say the awkward thing, just do it. Anytime I've been in a space and I'm like, okay, this is going to be awkward, but we're going to say it. all of a sudden everybody opens up, because most of the time you think it's awkward, but everybody else is dealing with it too. And then just being vulnerable. I feel like going first, being awkward leads to that vulnerability where you can lead with that grace and understanding and be in the same space. Like if you're nervous as a leader, great. Because it means that everybody else is going to work with you in that too. No, I've never left a group, not necessarily courageous, but just a group where I've had to do something and people say, "Oh, you were so nervous. It was terrible." No, because that's not what your community is there for. So, yeah, just trying to dispel the myth of you can do it on your own, trust it, and go at it alone. You end up feeling lonelier than when you started.
Mhm.
And then just being
Yeah.
willing to go first.
Well said, Rebecca. Yeah, the willingness to go first. It really is. There are certain wiring types, and those of us that have had more practice doing that, and that's actually who I'm banking on to start the groups. And I'm just trusting God there. Like, if anybody is even curious or going, I think I could get the ball going, once you move it forward, you're in this together. It's not you leading it, or leading it together. And eventually, as Lorna, alluded to, our goal is to help teach our girls to learn how to host and to lead. And they're going to be like way more confident. I hope every courageous girl is able to lead. And honestly, we're seeing that as the fruit of all these years later. These are the girls that get asked in their public schools, in their private schools, who are doing in homeschooling, who are doing out there kind of things, because they're confident in who God says they are. They've found their contribution in the community, and they're not, that woman thing that we all struggle with is, am I enough or am I too much? That we're working through that from second grade all the way through high school. And so I'm on the other end, ladies. I've got 16 and 18-year-old. I'm actually with my daughter who's launching college. We're going through the book Courageous together. I am the author, so it's a little bit funny because my daughter's like, Mom, I hear this every day. And I'm like, well, good. I'm practicing what I preach then. So, but it's been really sweet to be able to, at this stage, talk with her about, in hindsight, all the things we did in Courageous Girls. Now, could she call out a lesson and go, "Oh, I remember that. That was amazing, Mom. That was the Nope, she didn't remember any of it. But what she remembers is the time. She remembers that I've been available. She was telling me the other day, she goes, Mom, the consistency of just being able to talk just made it really normal, knowing that we can talk about anything. And we've talked about anything. But that comes with practice, practice, practice. And I know I get paid to be a good listener, but in my day job or my real life, I'm just like any other mom. I'm busy and distracted and short and angry and have hormones. So we all have our moments. But I needed that accountability. And then there's also this all the topics that I know that every mom goes, I wish my mom walked with me through that. Like, I don't know how many women have said, I started my period and I didn't even know what was happening. And if you had a mom who walked with you through that, she was rare. And so we have a different opportunity in this generation, and to be able to bring grace and not shame, to be able to remind girls they're not alone. So us mamas get reminded we're not alone, but our daughters need to remember that. And so at the end of all of this, my daughter who I'm launching, we're going to have a relationship. We're going to continue this at least once a month, really deeper connection conversation, because that's the rhythm we started, to speak to what you said, Jesse. And I will say, of all the things we've done, to Lorna's point at this part, I've asked her, I said, are you glad you did that? Are you glad you did that? The only thing that she's been like, that was worth it, was Courageous Girls. There's just a lot of things we do as parents thinking this is going to help them in the long run. But God uses it. He's using it to grow the fruit in us. And there's no right or wrong way to this journey. But this idea of having a roadmap, that's really the goal here, is just to give you an idea of, here's the things that developmentally we want to be walking with our daughters through. It's going to feel earlier. I love that all of you said it feels earlier. And that's on purpose, because oftentimes us moms wait for our children to come to us. And I'm sorry, but their peers and the internet is already introducing them to things. So us leading the way and it being a little early brings grace and less shame, and again opens the door the average girl starts her cycle for between age 8 and 11. And most mamas don't even start thinking about it until their daughter's body is starting to change. And we're like, by then, she's well already into the process. Mm-hmm. So these kinds of dynamics are woven in throughout Courageous Girls groups. This is not meant to be a cult. This is not meant to be the purity culture dynamic where we're like, we're all going to do this. It's meant to just be about relationships. So as we end today, I'd love each of you just to end with your own mama heart, a word of encouragement, because some moms are in groups. Maybe they're discouraged because their group doesn't feel really connected, or there's some dynamics between moms or daughters. Some moms are like, I'm just barely surviving here. That's why I'm listening to the podcast. That's all I have time for. Wherever they're at, just what feels on your heart today as you leave them with a word of encouragement? Rebecca, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. You can always pass, right? That's the Courageous Girls principle, is we can always pass. We don't have to share. But Rebecca, you'll go first, and then Jessie, and then we'll end with a big exclamation mark with you, Lorna. No pressure.
I would say, just coming from the space I'm in right now, I know it felt a bit of an obstacle because I haven't gotten my group started. I haven't had the moms commit, and all of those haven'ts. There was a thing I could do. I could have time with my daughter. I could use the Confident Girls curriculum. So yeah, if you're in that same space and it feels like you just can't get it to connect, there's other tools that you can still use, just mom and daughter. And when it comes to, and I even heard it earlier, just the busyness. A few years ago, my family adopted this saying of, sometimes we have to say no to good things so we can say yes to the best things. And so if you're looking to invest in your relationship and quality time with your daughter, maybe there's some good things that can be set on the back burner, because definitely saying yes to your children will always be the best thing. Anytime you invest, like Tara, you saying she doesn't remember much, but she remembers Courageous Girls and she loved it. That is so hopeful for me, because I'm hoping to build that community with my daughter, even though we're not there yet. So yeah, sometimes say yes to the best things means no to some good things too.
So good.
I think I would say, for those who are trying to invite people to come in to lead, to not be discouraged by the no's, because there'll be plenty of no's that will come your way. I remember when I was trying to start, I was very excited about certain people. I'm like, I think this is going to be great for you. Don't you want to join us? And they're like, yeah, it's not really going to work out. I was like, but are you sure? And try, instead of like gripping tighter, like open-handedly moving forward and knowing that God's going to put the right people in the group. And some of those may come and go. People that decide, yes, this is going to work out. We had one mom that said yes, that then it said no, and then 2 months later said, you know what? Yes, and decided to come back in. And I think that just open-handed space allows God to move, to know that the right people will come together, and it'll be seasonal. There'll be some that will stay for a short period of time, and others that will be in it for the long haul. And He's going to use all of those opportunities to do something great. So keep trying, keep asking, and there will be those that surprise you, that say yes. And hopefully they will be the ones that have even greater impact in your groups altogether.
Well said.
I think it's been helpful to have started more than one group. There has never been a time that I've approached somebody who's been like, that sounds like a terrible idea. Every single time they're like, that's amazing. And sometimes the answer is still no, because for whatever reason, but there's never a time. And I always just say, this is a really low pressure ask, no pressure at all. But if you say yes, it needs to be a commitment, because that's what adds the meaning to it. So take some time to think about it. But there's really no downside. There's a lot of upside about developing deeper relationships with your daughter and peers, for her and for you. And there's no danger in it, because if people end up not doing it, then that's fine. You and your daughter still have more time together. And so, I just think there's really the barriers that might seem big turn out to not be barriers in the end, in my opinion, just because it's not that much time. The curriculum's so well done. You build great relationships, and people, I think that's so right, Jesse. People come and go a little bit. That's great. Then you just trust that God's putting the right people in your path and in your daughter's path at the time that you need them. And that's how, I'd say I look back at my life, and that would be a theme of God putting the right people in the path at the right times when we need them. But I've seen it so clearly here. And so, yeah, I just think, why would we not say yes to an opportunity to dig deep with our girls and dig deep with each other while we walk this journey of raising daughters together?
So good. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable. And again, sometimes I'm like the biggest screaming this from the mountaintops. I weep thinking, I wish more moms knew about this. I didn't know it would be a thing when I started it. All I knew is that I could see the hurting and the loneliness, even amongst the most Christian, I'm doing air quotes right now, of us. And there's so many women who didn't grow up in a Christian home. So they really don't know what it looks like to integrate, or they grew up in a really unhealthy home. And so they're lost. And then those of us who had healthier need to be sharing that, like being able to be in community and to model and walk with, and not just think I'm just about my daughter, but you're meant to be modeling to other mamas around you in these small groups, going, oh, that's what it looks like to be more patient with my daughter. I think that was one of the biggest gifts for me, is learning, watching each other. And I learned by watching. I'm a very much, and I should probably go back and tell all my Courageous Girl mamas, these are the things I learned from you. And I know people have an impression that I'm a, an expert in this area, but I also have my own story. And so I learned a lot by just watching the way moms would respond, the way they languaged things, and obviously the offline conversations that happen, in the in-between margins, between adult to adult, mom to mom, learning a lot about how to let other women in and how to be able to do this as a community. So you are amazing. And God is in the business of using women to grow up a generation of girls that know they're loved and love others well, keeping it simple. And there's a wide variety of how we do that. If you want to learn more about Courageous Girls, go to mycourageousgirls.com. There's more information there, or we now have the CG app, thanks to Rebecca's help. You can go to Courageous Girls on the App Store, anywhere you go, and all this is free. It's all free. And I think people go, what? They're super confused. And it's because we have generous donors. Some of them are Courageous Girls moms. Some of them are grandparents. Some of them are just people who want to see women and daughters really helped and cared for in today's world. But because of generous donors, we can keep this curriculum free for you. So learn more. Thank you, ladies. Such a gift to have you today.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
Okay. So continue forward wherever you're at. Remember, you're the right mama for the job. God's the one who decided you would be this little girl's mama. So step into that, say yes, and lean into her today in her little heart. She needs you. All right. Until next time, continuing to keep in step and close with the Lord above, knowing He's with you, He goes before you, and He's behind you. Imagine a girl who knows she is loved. Imagine a girl who knows how her gifts and her talents and the way she was made, even her limitations, were going to be used on purpose, are being used on purpose by her God. Imagine a girl who knows how to use her voice, especially for those who are voiceless. Imagine a girl who knows how to ask for help, who's honest with her God and with others, who knows how to lean into friendships, to move through conflict, to communicate well, to even work on how to forgive and learn how to move through rather than around. Imagine a girl who loves the Lord her God with all her heart, with all her mind, with all her body, with all her soul, with relationships and her actions. This is Courageous Girls. And it's not only just for our daughters, but it's for us mamas as well. If you want to learn more, go to mycourageousgirls.com or go download the Courageous Girls app. This is a free online resource, a curriculum that helps you walk with your daughter at every stage of her growing years so that she and you can learn more about what it means to be a girl who knows she's loved and love others well in a world of confusing messages. Today's the day. Are you in?